We all know that connection is good for our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health, and yet some of us find it so difficult, which doesn't really make an awful lot of sense. I mean, we're pretty much a pack animal, we're designed to connect with others. We flourish when we connect with others, and yet so many of us find it really, really challenging to let down our guard. And I suppose it's first of all understanding that we're very much in a culture that places value on individualism, on your ability to stand on your own 2 feet, and it's a message a lot of us are given from an very early age. That we need to shut down our vulnerabilities, that we need to hide them, that we need to be strong, that we need to be successful, that we need to be very autonomous and independent. And yes, we do need to be independent. We cannot be completely reliant on others. But sometimes the message gets a little bit mixed up and impairs our ability to let down our guard with other people, because ultimately we need to get the balance right between independence and interdependence. We need to be able to allow other people into our lives. I mean, for our mental and emotional health alone, to be able to connect with somebody, to not feel isolated, to be able to be vulnerable, to be in touch with the emotional state of yourself and of other people is so important. And I suppose the funny thing is we're beginning to tackle the vulnerability side of things. There's a lot of emphasis on healing the self and, kind of creating self-awareness, creating self-acceptance. And these are all really important fundamentals for your well-being. However, that being said, they're basically a stepping stone to greater connections with others, because ultimately we feel better when we reach other people, when other people reach us, when we feel heard, when we feel valued, when we feel understood. I mean, that's what our core needs are, whether we like to admit it or not. And as I said, oftentimes we feel if we do enough work on ourselves that we're not going to need anybody else, that we can be completely self-sufficient. And that's not the case. The work that we do on ourselves should be, as I said, paving the way for greater relationships, greater connections with other people. And you will see the people who feel most purposeful, who enjoy the most fulfilled lives. They have strong ties. They have, and not a lot of them. I mean, the funny thing is we're very much in a society where you can list off a whole host of friends on your social media. Your colleagues, you have so many superficial acquaintances, and yet very few true deep friendships. And you need to place more value on working on those deep relationships, and we tend to place a lot of energy and a lot of value on the more superficial side of things. What we look like to our followers, how many likes we get, how many friends we have our followers gone up or gone down in the past whatever period of time. And it's so mixed up and it is so wrong. Throw on top of that the stressful lives that we have. I mean, basically we get up in the morning, it's just go. We're gone to work, and there's massive emphasis on kind of having a successful job, a certain acquisition of wealth so you can buy certain things so that you look like you're living a certain lifestyle. And it's all just nonsense, really. I mean, ultimately it doesn't add to our happiness at all. And we, I suppose, achieve a certain hedonic happiness when we acquire material goods. We get that little dopamine hit, but ultimately we're still alone. We still come home every day completely overstretched, completely overwhelmed, not able to connect with our kids because we're just exhausted and we're not practicing connection often enough. And then we're just zoning out in front of whatever screen is available to us at the time. And this is the way our lives are playing out. We're losing touch with things like intuition, we're losing touch with things like connection and vulnerability. And then we decide that, as I said, we're going to do a little bit of self-discovery. And in fact, oftentimes what it does is it makes us more self-focused, more self-centered. It's all about, I these are my needs and these are my boundaries. And it's just a little bit mixed up, because ultimately the work on the self is so that you can create that pathway to others. It's not so that you can put all of these barriers in place, further severing your ties with your community. So that's just a thought for anyone who is looking to feel more fulfilled in life, that oftentimes if you can just create better connections, you're going to feel a whole lot better about so many aspects of your life. And again, keeping it simple, create the connection with your partner, create the connection with your kids, eye contact, having those deep, honest conversations. And it takes practice, because it's not something that there's a lot of value put on, but once you start practicing it, it becomes automated, and it's the sort of thing that you're just going to be drawn to automatically. And I think this is particularly the case when we have struggled a lot in life, when we have had to be subservient. All of a sudden, when we do a little bit of work on the self, we feel like as if we have to lay down all of these needs and these boundaries, as I said. And it can oftentimes sever our ability to connect, or we can become quite judgmental about other people's experience. And I think the more forgiving we can be of other people, the more we allow the connections to be created. That's not always an easy thing to do, because there is, as I said, very much a me fain attitude about us. We can't help that. We do tend to look out for ourselves, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a good thing. So that's just a little bit of food for thought for today regarding connection and how good it is for you, and some of the things that may be holding you back from it. If you're interested with doing a little bit of work with me, if you're struggling with your connections, if you're struggling to get the balance right, get in touch with me on the website. It's fundamentals.ie. You'll also catch me on my Facebook and my Instagram, and I do lots of content on my YouTube channel. It's called Fiona Feely. Go check it out. I'd appreciate a like, a share and a subscribe if you have the time. Hope everyone has a lovely day.